Mic fixed.
We can hear you.
All the time. I live in Williamsburg. You guys are actually filming around the corner from my house tomorrow. I really hope to run into you guys. The last time you were there, I was at work. But my question is, you kind of touched on it before, but can we expect to see a group like Vigilance or Vigilance itself return anytime sooner in upcoming seasons?
Sure. I mean, never say never. Samaritan vanquished Vigilance. Actually used them. It was a construct created by Greer. But there's no doubt that I think a lot of people are getting hip to the idea that the NSA has all your selfies. And I think now, you know, the surveillance state was the prevailing theme of this show in the first couple seasons. We think now the biggest thing coming out around now is artificial intelligence. Ray Kurzweil has been brought into the Google house, and we think this is the next Manhattan Project that we're talking about here. And as soon as people get hip to it, it may be too late. So there's always room for another group who understands this, who understands the importance of privacy and wants to do something about it. So yeah, it could certainly reemerge.
How much with Greer? You know, because it turned out that he was pulling so many strings last season. Are we going to maybe get even more insight into his history and all that led up to this?
How about some Greer flashbacks?
There you go.
In MI6.
Next question over there.
Compared to previous questioners on this side, I'm going to be a little bit boring. Especially since I'm not as huggable, but...
No kiss, man.
My question was about Root. It was initially Root's always idea of unchained, unconstrained artificial intelligence, and Samaritan is pretty much exactly that. Will there be temptation for Root to go over to the other side? And would you want to sort of portray that, if you could?
No. I feel like it was more, yes, but she was always trying to set Harold's machine free. I don't know if, I feel like she had a little more knowledge about what he built and had more trust in this specific machine. Is that right? But no, I don't want to go to Samaritan.
Thank you.
Is Root's firmly team machine, right? No.
You know, the interesting thing when Greer and Root had an interaction last season, some of the things that he was saying is you and I are not all that different. We want a lot of the same things. But I think what Root is going to discover this year is the difference, the fundamental difference between Samaritan and Harold's machine, and why that becomes an extremely disillusioning thing for Root this season.
Next question over here.
But the question here I have is for Greg. Up in the narrative recently, especially in the news, and you guys have been following it, is the idea of authority and power surveilling the citizenry. Now, I mean, really, over the last couple of months, we've seen we've seen it the other way around. It's almost like the citizenry is surveilling authority in ordinary citizens taking videos of police, of military, and that stuff getting out very, very.
His question was, how do you tell a story about surveillance when a lot of the ordinary citizens are now filming everything and a lot of stories are breaking because of that?
It's clearly a really weird time we're living in now. What happened in Ferguson, clearly, there's almost no point now where there's an altercation with the authorities where someone doesn't whip out the cell phone and take a picture or video of that. And I think it's changing the landscape entirely for law enforcement, and that they're now talking about all policemen carrying lapel cameras at all times. Every time they stop you, everything's going to be recorded. And I think, oddly enough, we're all getting used to it. So I think it'll be good in some aspects, but there's also always the downside of losing privacy completely. The problem, I think, that we have with once a right is taken away, you're never going to get it back. And I think when everyone's aware that they're constantly being recorded or videotaped, it changes their behavior accordingly. And I think there's a fantastic TED Talks on this, on the end of privacy. And what was kind of scary is one of the guys on the one of the guys on the panel was saying that, Orwell was too optimistic. And it's kind of frightening, but here we are.
Yeah.
So do you think that could be something that could be reflected down the line, maybe on Person of Interest?
No doubt. I think there's a great episode we could do where someone has been wrongly portrayed as a perpetrator by a citizen taking a video or portraying or even using Photoshop to alter the perception of what actually happened.
Thank you very much. Next question over there.
I'm probably like that one 16-year-old that drinks tea like an 8-year-old on Tuesdays and watches Person Interest. So yeah, and I think Finch and Velma, that should be a thing. But I just wanted to say, like, I'm a little about Reese's identity, like his new identity. I was curious how he was able to be like a detective, because he was like the man in the suit and stuff, and it's hard to get like a new identity, Like, I don't know, I'm just curious about
Roots that good.
What's the question?
How did Reese get the cop identity? Having been the man in the suit, having been like that wanted, how could he have gotten his new dual identity as a cop?
Well, I think all the rule set we set up this year was that Root had installed software into the servers of Samaritan where it can't actually recognize our guys' faces, or when it does, it immediately glitches back to what it believes their persona is. So Reese, or his alter ego, Detective John Riley, is free to conduct himself as a detective.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next question on this side.
Oh, thank you. My name's Robert, and I'd like to think that your show is probably the smartest show, certainly on broadcast television and maybe on all television. So thank you very much. And my question, I guess, is sort of a follow-up to the last two. When the fact that the police, whether it's in Ferguson or some here in New York, seem to be acting out of bounds, and we're talking New York, are you going to try and reflect that in the fact that that Reese is now, officially speaking, a police officer? And I know Fusco sort of touched on it, but the things that he was able to do before, when he was kind of a free agent, blowing off people's kneecaps and things like that, it has a whole different implication now that he's an official member of official authority.
Yeah, Jim gets in a little bit of hot water as a detective for shooting people.
I've been getting reprimanded every episode this year, so.
Yeah, we think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to do his job the way he would like to. In fact, what we wanted to do the lapel cameras in the season premiere when he comes up and he flashes his badge, but we couldn't get those cameras set up in time. But it's definitely something that Internal Affairs is going to take notice of, and you'll be seeing Detective John Riley sent to the shrink.
Thank you very much.
How will Detective John Riley take